Welcome everyone to the 2021-2022 school year. I hope you've had an exciting summer. As we get ready to start the next year in just a couple weeks, I wanted to give you a couple of updates today. First of all, just talking about last year and during the school year, we had a great year. We were able to have our activities and ball games, and we were able to have city school for 5 days a week, which sets us apart from a lot of districts across our state and nation. This year we have plans in place to continue with the vast majority of the safety protocols that we had in place last year. For example, we will continue with at the very beginning, especially with our small children, teaching them just the protocols and procedures that we have in place. We'll have hand sanitizer readily available, frequent hand washing, more than regular cleaning of the surfaces. We'll continue with our UV lights during the day and at night, which we used last year, which I think we're probably the only district in the state that has a cart in every building. And then on top of that, last year with COVID-19, we upgraded all of our air conditioning filters to MERV 11, which is right at medical grade, which is a big improvement in air quality in our buildings. On top of that, our water fountains will be turned off in our buildings again, and then for visitors that visit our buildings, we'll ask that you mask. As for some other strategies, we have dividers that we purchased last year that will be used when needed, and we'll have a lot of cohorting and then promoting social distancing. And one of our better strategies that we have is our cohorting, where we try to have the kids grouped in groups in the rooms. That way we're minimizing exposure. For example, at the secondary level, we're not going to have, or any of the buildings, we're going to try to not be in a situation where our kids are around each other more than about 13 or 14 minutes at any one given time. So that way, when we have to contact trace, we'll minimize the amount of exposure so we don't have to quarantine as many children. One thing that we did last year and we've been doing this summer that I'd like to share is we like learning from others. There's lots of information, information on COVID and other things that are out there from different agencies and groups, and often people email us different things they're seeing. But we like to use all that information, but also on top of that, we have a network of districts that we share with. We have districts that we meet roughly every 2 weeks with during the school year in Michigan, Ohio, Virginia, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, and Tennessee. And we share what we're seeing and learn from each other. And right now, several of the districts have been in school for 2 to 3 weeks. So we've been brainstorming with them. What are you seeing? What's different this year? What's the same? And it's helping us to have a better game plan and a fine-tuned game plan for the fall. And we'll use the mitigation strategies that we've used successfully in the past to start off on a very positive note with school. And then along the way, we have the ability to adjust. When you look at COVID, it's not going to go away anytime soon. We've got a couple of different variants that we're already starting to research, the Lambda variant and the Delta probe. And we're going to focus in on our kids and making sure that we see other people in even other countries. What are you seeing with the different variants? And that way we're not caught off guard and we're able to be adjusting our protocols if we need to. Now, one thing that will be new for us this year is our triggers that we have in place. And how are they based? How did we come up with the triggers? Well, we simply looked at our data from last year and looked at the number of quarantines that we had and looked at the percentage of positive cases that we had. And for example, of all of our almost 6,500 children for the total year, we had about 3% of them positive last year with COVID. Now, the quarantines were much higher, so that's why our triggers are a little bit higher to give us the ability to, if everything plays out the way they did last year, some tweaks, we'll have a trigger of 7%. Where if we have 7%, not positive, but if we have 7% combined quarantines and positives, which the quarantines will be the higher component typically, then we would go back to masking at individual buildings in order to keep our schools from going to virtual. And then when a building hits 7%, we'll mask, and then once we reach the 4% and go down to 4%, total positive cases and quarantines, then we would maintain that or need to maintain it for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks then we'd go back to masking being optional. But that's a strategy that we have. We'll start the year off about 80% or better of the strategies that we used last year. We have the masking that we can upgrade to if we need to, and then the final strategy we have, if masking's not working in all of our protocols, would be to pull the trigger and go virtual we had to, if our numbers would continue to rise. But we've been looking at Delta. One thing that we know for sure from just talking to local medical authorities and looking at trend data We believe at the mid to latter part of July. It peaked in Missouri. As of August the 3rd, the 10-day trending numbers has new cases in Missouri being the lowest in the nation. So we feel like as far as starting school, unlike a lot of the states that we're benchmarking against, they haven't even peaked. We have probably already peaked before we start school, which gives us a positive sign as far as starting school. But we look forward to the school year and having some great events and activities and trying to be as close to normal as we can be. And then as we go, if we need to adjust triggers, we'll do that as the year progresses.